Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Average Aspirant. So this is the second video for the consulting prep, second video, and in this video we are going to cover guesstimates. So this is going to be a session on guesstimate. So I'll tell you how to solve guesstimates, and we will also see an example of the same. Also, it is my request, please watch all the videos that are there. Please watch it fully. You guys have not been watching it, in full length, so there might be difficulties in understanding the concepts if you don't watch the full video. So if you want to understand it fully, please watch the full videos till the end. Thank you. So what will we cover in this particular video? We will see how we can solve a guesstimate. I'll tell you which approaches that you can use. In the previous video also I told you about three approaches that are there, which is top down, bottom up, and bottleneck. And I also explained uh, what all these mean in the previous video, first video. So in case you want to have a look, so in case you want to understand what these are, have a look at the first video, right? We will do an example and I'll also tell you the tips for brownie points. So what does brownie points mean? So now a guesstimate, if a interviewer asks you a guesstimate, right? So what will you do? You will solve it. What will any other aspirant do? They will also solve it. So what is the difference between you and someone else? So how to create that difference, how to create that differentiation? I'll tell you which small things you can do during solving a guesstimate so that you can earn some brownie points. Okay. So now we'll see the steps we need to follow to solve a particular guesstimate. So these are the 4 steps that you need to follow to solve a guesstimate correctly, right? So in many videos in on YouTube or any other medium you might be doing your prep on, you will find a lot of different approaches, a lot of different words for the steps that you need to follow, but all of them mean the same. It's essentially the same, just the same. So you feel free to follow any of the references that are out there, right? So first step is to understand the question, or what we commonly call as problem statement. So this is the most important step, that you have clarity on what is being asked, right? So let's say if someone asks you that what is total number of houses in, let's say, Delhi, and you did not hear the word Delhi, you just calculated total number of houses, let's say, in India, then it's of no use, right? And at no point will an interviewer stop you. If you are using a wrong approach, there are many interviewers who will stop you. uh, they are the good interviewers, but there are people who do not stop you or do not interfere you while you are solving. So once you are on a wrong path, so it's very difficult to come back if someone does not guide you. There will be very few people who will guide you in the right direction. So it is important that you understand the problem statement correctly. Problem statement, you should have clarity on problem statement, right? It should be very crisp, very to the point, right? If they have asked you number of houses, you will calculate number of houses. If they have asked you number of tube lights, you will calculate number of tube lights. It should be that clear. Next is that you plan in your head, plan on a piece of paper, right? How will you go about it? Go about it. And a tip for brownie point, that you tell the interviewer before starting the guesstimate. You tell the interviewer which approach you are going to use. Approach. Just the approach, not the numbers. In any time that you solve a guesstimate, don't get into numbers. without discussing the approach with the interviewer. So, if an interviewer has given you a problem statement and you want to solve it in a way, then you first tell the interviewer, right? Tell the interviewer, this is the approach that I'm going to use. I'm going to break down these things into these things, and then I'll move on like this, and ask them, is this approach correct, or do you think I can use another approach? If they think this is correct, then they will tell you to go ahead and solve it using that approach. If it is incorrect, if they think you will get stuck, right, then they will tell you, why don't you think of another approach? So if any interviewer tells you that, why don't you think of another approach, now don't go and tell them that I don't have another approach. Think of another approach. Think how it can be solved. This thing means, this is very important. This thing means that you are doing something wrong. So you need to plan. You need to tell them what concepts you are going to use, not exactly, but in a broader sense. That these things I'm going to use. I'm first going to divide population into urban, rural, or maybe based on age, things like that. So these are the things that you need to tell the interviewer. Third, it's solving the guesstimate, right? After everything you do, you need to solve the guesstimate. How will you solve it? You need to segment things, break down things. We will see in when we solve it, how you break down, how you segment, right? Numbers or calculation. Now, this is very, very important. An interviewer does not want an exact answer, right? But what they want is that your calculations should be right. So if you are doing 10 into 30, you should not write 3000. These are silly mistakes. Silly mistakes. And if you can't do these things right, then it will leave a very, very bad impression. So how can you do numbers right? It is so, because you are solving a guesstimate, you will have to do a lot of assumptions. So make sure that all your assumptions are in tens, hundreds, right? So let's say the population of Delhi, they have given you in the problem statement that the population of Delhi is 2.1 cr. Just ask, simply ask very gently, very humbly, that sir or ma'am, can I take 2.1 cr as 2 cr for the simplicity of calculation? And no one will ever say no. Every interviewer will say yes, please use 2 cr for the simplicity of calculation. So make it as simple as you can, as simple as you can in calculations, because if you do things wrong in calculation, it will leave a very, very, very bad impression, right? Okay, so this was all about solving. We'll see how we solve the guesstimates when we move on to the next slide, right? Fourth and most important step, which most of the people forget. I mean, not doing it right is a different thing, but forgetting a full step is a very, very different thing. No one, like most of the people, they don't recheck their answers, their approaches. So once you have solved it, what will most of the people do? They will directly go and tell the answer to the interviewer. When you tell the answer to the interviewer, so it is very important that you recheck. You just say, when you solve the estimate, you just tell the interviewer, can I please take a minute? And no one will ever say no. They'll always say yes, please take your time and do whatever you want to do in that minute or 30 seconds. Check all the calculations, check if you have missed any segment, check if things are MECE or not. We will discuss this thing in detail, but these are the things that you need to check, right? Okay, now let's move on. MECE. I had explained a bit about MECE in the previous video as well. I did not give you any examples, so now we will see what MECE actually means. MECE is a segmentation tool, right? All segmentations that you ever do in a guesstimate should be MECE. Now, what is MECE? MECE, as we had discussed, is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. What does mutually exclusive means? That the segmentation or whatever content you are using, different segments should not overlap. This is a Venn diagram, right? You understand what an overlap means in a Venn diagram. So different segments should not overlap. Things should be very different. What does it mean? Example. So if you had to divide the total population, how will you divide in a segment which is mutually exclusive, that no segments overlap? Let's say 0 to 30 years and then 31 plus years, right? This is mutually exclusive. What does it mean? No one coming in this segment will overlap with someone with this segment. So a person will either have a 32 age or have a 28 age. It cannot have both 32 and 28 age, right? So anyone coming in this particular segment will not come in this segment. So these do not overlap. This is what is meant by mutually exclusive. Then what is collectively exhaustive? Just a second. Let me clear this. What is collectively exhaustive? Again, we will use the same example. You have total population. You divide it into 0 to 30 and then 31 to 60. Is it mutually exclusive? Yes. But is it collectively exhaustive? No. So what does collectively exhaustive means? That all the segments, when combined, they should make this total work, right? So there will be people who will be 60 plus as well, 61 plus. Where are those? No. So any segment that you make, all these segments should add up to total. This is what is meant by collectively exhaustive. I'm sorry for the handwriting and all the mess that I'm making, but I hope you are able to understand this. Okay. So this was all about what is MECE. Now we'll go on and solve a guesstimate, and you see how we solve it. Okay. Now we will see an example of how to solve the guesstimate. So this is our problem statement. Guesstimate total number of washing machines in India. So what was the first step? Our first step was clarify. Now you need to clarify with the interviewer what kind of washing machines you are talking about, right? What kind of washing machines? There are washing machines which are at our homes. There are washing machines in, let's say, hostels. There are washing machines in hotels, and there are many other areas where washing machines are operational. So he will tell you, let's only calculate washing machines which are present in homes, right? So this is how you clarify. So now you don't have to calculate all the hotels, homes, or any other commercial areas washing machines. You'll have only to calculate homes, washing machine in Indian homes or households. Now you need to plan. So to get the total number of washing machines in Indian homes, you need to find Indian homes. You need to find the total number of households. How will you get it? By number of people. How will you get it? By population, right? So you will tell the approach to the interviewer that I'll have population. I will divide it into, let's say, rural or urban. Then I will see the number of households. Then I'll also see what is important to run a washing machine. Electricity. Let's say urban there is 100% electricity. Every home has electricity, but in rural that won't be the case. So I will see the electricity penetration as well. Electricity penetration. Then I'll see of the number of households. There will be some who are poor, who are rich, who are middle class. So not every poor household will have it. Maybe every rich household will have it, but not every middle class household will have it. So we will assume. Thanks. So you tell the interviewer that this is the approach that I'm going to use. If you think this is correct, then I'll move forward with the numbers. If you think I'll there is something missing, I will change the approach. So if the interviewer says that yeah, move on with the numbers, then we will start the third step, which was solving the estimate. Okay. Now, just a second, I will just clear this. Okay. So now, how will we solve it? As I told you, we will see what is the population. You can ask the interviewer what is the population of India. Let's say he tells you it is 140 crores. Then you will move with 140 crores, right? Now you have to calculate. Uh, you have to divide this population into rural and urban first. Rural and urban. You tell the interviewer that I'm taking 40% of the people to live in urban areas and 60% of them living in rural areas. Is this correct? If he says that yes, it is correct, then move forward. If he says you need to take 70-30, then you take 70-30. If he says you take 80-20, then you need to take 80-20. Right? So this is how you'll do it. Then how much will be 60% of 140? 50% is 70, 60% would be 77, and this would be 63. So tell him that just for the simplicity of calculation, I'll take 77 as 80 and 63 as 60. Is it okay? If he says it is okay, then yeah, we have it. I'm just removing it for the time being. I hope you understood how the 80 CR and 60 CR came, right? Then we have to calculate number of households. So in rural, usually the family size is big. So we will take one household has 5 people, and here we will take one household has 3 people. So number of households for rural will become 80 by 5, which would be 16, and for urban it will become 60 by 3, which is 20. So there are 16 crores, this is crores, households in urban, rural, and 20 CR households in urban. What was the next step? We had to see electricity penetration. Assume assume that 80% of the rural households get electricity. If this data is incorrect, they ask the interviewer if you have any other data or should I go with 80%. If he says yes 80%, then 16 into 0.8. This would be the total number of households which have electricity. Right? One. So just for the simplicity, tell them I'm taking 12 CR 75. We are taking 75. Tell him we are taking 75. 0.75. This will be 12 CR. 12 CR households in rural having electricity. In urban, we can assume that 100% of the households will have electricity. So total households with electricity will come 20 CR. Right? So I'll just clear this up and I will move these things up. I hope you understand how we got to 12 and 20 CR. Right? Because there is a lack of space. So it is important that you don't skip this video. So otherwise you won't be able to understand. Right? So we got 12 CR here and 20 CR here. This was rural households with electricity, and this is urban with electricity. I hope you understood how we got here. Then we will divide this into low income, middle class people, and high income. Same we will do with this low, middle, high. You can also do as low, lower, middle, upper middle, and high, depending on whatever your problem statement is, whatever comes to your mind, whatever you can solve easily, you can divide it in that way. Now, tell the interviewer in rural area. This was rural R. This was urban U. So in rural areas, there are usually more lower class people, right? So lower income people, sorry. 60% we are assuming would be lower, middle would be 30, and high would be really less, like 10%. Tell all these assumptions to the interviewer very clearly. In urban, there are usually less people with low income, 20%, let's say. Middle income segment is very high, 60%, and higher we are taking 20%. So now let's break down the numbers. 12 CR, 60%. How much would it be? 12 into 6, 72. So we are taking close to 7 CR. Middle we will take close to 4 CR. Just tell them I am assuming these numbers. I'm just rounding them off so that my calculations are correct. High is 1 CR. It should be 1.2, but we are taking 1 CR for the sake of simple calculations. Now similarly here it would be 4 CR, middle income would be 12 CR, and higher income would be 4 CR. Right? Now this is people, households with low income electricity penetration in rural areas. Now everyone will not have a refrigerator, and let's say 15% of lower income people will households will have refrigerator. 15% of 7 CR would be 1 CR. This is one number. In middle class, we will assume that let's say 75% of the people will have a refrigerator. Oh, sorry, a washing machine. Then this would be 3 CR. This is another number. In high, we will assume everyone will have it, 100%. So this would again be 1 CR. Same goes for our urban segment. 20% we will assume 20%, 1 CR. In middle, we can assume let's say 75%. It would be 8 CR. And in high, we will assume 100%. So it would be 4 CR. Now, these are mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. So your total would be 1 plus 3 plus 1. This is how much? 5. 1 plus 8 plus 4. This is 13. 5 plus 13. 18 CR. This would be your number of washing machines. So before telling this to the interviewer, before telling the final answer, our fourth step was recheck, right? What did we do? We bifurcated the population in rural and urban. Then we saw number of households. Then we saw the electricity penetration. We came up with these numbers. We divided it into income segments, and then we saw how many people of those income segments will own a washing machine. So these are the numbers, right? So this is how we get to 18 CR. Okay, so this is all about solving a guesstimate. This was a top-down approach. Top-down. I'll make two other videos. Let me clear some space here. I hope you have taken a screenshot, or you can refer to the video again in case you need anything, right? I'll just clear these things. So we'll make two more videos. In one of them, I'll cover the bottom-up approach, and in bottleneck approach. So this is where our guesstimates will end, and then we will start with cases. So I'll do similar things as cases as well. I'll tell one video will be on how to solve it, and then two videos on example for each of the type of cases, right? Profitability, growth, each of them. So this is what you can expect in the coming days, right? So thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Do like, share, and subscribe the channel, and also hit the notification icon so that you know whenever a new video comes out, you get to know it. So like, share, please do share, guys. This is very important. Many of the people don't have access to these resources. So please also subscribe to the channel. Right? Have a nice day, guys.